let's talk about New York. So it's a rainy day. I've poured myself a nice little cup of Earl Grey and wondering what to talk about. So, a bit of this channel is supposed to be about my life in New York, and it's supposed to be more kind of things like how do you get an apartment in New York? What is that process like? But also, this is kind of the life of a New Yorker. Like, what are the subways like? What does it mean to be a New Yorker, So I've lived here, I'm going on my 8th year now. And some people would say that's actually not a true New Yorker. And, fine. Personally, I don't feel that way. I feel like home is where the heart is, which is cliche as hell, but it's true. And I've lived here long enough that I'm like, I know what the tea is like. Tea. I know what the tea is like. It's fine, right? So, first things first, about kind of my channel in general. I filmed a lot, especially of the initial, 5 episodes or whatever, before all of this happened. I did my kitchen renovation and the floral design and the hanging floral. I did all of that in January. I have a office design video coming up for a friend of mine in Brooklyn. I did that in February. It is the end of April and I am 34 days into isolation. And I've left my apartment 5 times in 34 days. So that's what it is in New York right now. Sirens. You hear sirens all day. You hear them dozens of times a day. Currently, New York City has lost over 10,000 people to the virus. The United States has lost 40,000 people to the virus, which is more than any other country. And we make about 25% of those losses. And, so when people used to talk about oh my God, your rent's so high, why do you do it? I used to always say, basically without a hesitation, that your rent in New York is not for your apartment. It's for living in New York, especially if you are paying a premium, like you live in Manhattan, like I do. You pay a premium because you are closer to where everything is, right? So what does it mean then when you are stuck in an apartment and your actual home, which is the city, is unavailable to you? It's disheartening. During this crisis, people are like, so what are you doing? How are you staying sane? Well, I was able to finally have the time to actually edit all that footage that I took, in the 3 months prior to do this. So there's that. We'll see how I can keep this up after the world comes back to normal, right? So there's that. I've, been able to draw again. I'm slightly a workaholic, which would maybe explain why someone would decide to start a YouTube channel in this, in this time, because I have to have something to do and I have to have productivity and work and that kind of thing. And I understand that, we kind of have a health issue, one could say, with toxic productivity in this country. And I am participating in that. But It's a way that I cope. It's a way that I deal with things. In my opinion, you know, in the face of adversity, you need to take action and you need to do things. Which is ironic given what we're going through now, because essentially the best way to defeat this thing is by arguably inactivity, which is kind of crazy to people. And it was kind of a hard pill to swallow. You can tell this because people are actually protesting to reopen the country. And personally, I find it insulting and just absolutely insane. How am I saying like positive and things like that during this time? I'm doing it by being productive because that's what works for me. Now, am I productive every single day? Have I spent 35 days making and shooting and editing and hustling YouTube videos? Absolutely not. Oh, absolutely not. I've only like done like 7 or 8 videos now. You know, like no. It's absolutely not what I'm doing. There are plenty of days where I have been horizontal in that bedroom all day, and I am perfectly okay with that. Perfectly okay with it. Because, you know, one thing that I have learned from this is that it is healthy to chill the hell out. And this has been the like literal one opportunity since I've been an adult, a working adult, to do this. This is the one time because I literally cannot worry about work because there's nothing I can worry about. There's just very little we can do, especially because I work in custom clothing, so everything is made for my customers. Now, if I was more of a ready-to-wear if I had a ready-to-wear customer base, rather, it could be a little different because I could still sell from our online store. Unfortunately, I've spent the last, 2 years, moving my customer base. Choices, like, that's just what happened. Oh, wow. Right? How we will move on is going to be incredibly telling. If we don't have extreme government change in November, that will be very telling in the response to this. If we do not come back to this world and appreciate it a little bit better, that will be very telling. If we can't acknowledge the opportunities that we had with this, that will be telling. I'm not one of those people that's like, this is a gift. It's like, because it's not, and for so many people it's not. For a lot of people who can't really get unemployment because they were working 3 part-time jobs, none of which would count as unemployment, and now they can't get any of the other jobs. They're very much in a rut, and I understand if those are the people that are protesting and wanting to fight and go back to work and this, that, and the other. But you know what that is? That's a fundamental flaw in our government and in our ability to take care of the populace. And so you really need to look at who you're yelling at and why you're yelling. And also who benefits from that yelling. This is the time to not be foolish. This is the time to be empathetic. This is the time to take people to task that need to be taken to task. And we will see, we will see what the world looks like. It's my hope that people in Los Angeles continue to want to see the mountains next to Los Angeles that they literally have not seen in 40 years and be like, maybe we shouldn't drive so much. Maybe we should invest in either cleaner transportation or in public infrastructure. Maybe, a lot of companies can realize, I don't need to actually have this huge building that I'm paying all this rent for my employees to come to. I can just have everyone work from home. Therefore, we are reducing our carbon footprint. I'm saving on my rent as a business because I might be a bleeding heart liberal, but I can see, I can see the business perspective as well. But we have to do the best we can do to get through this as a community, as a society. And I would like to be like as a nation, but this is a global situation. It can't just be focused on the United States and how we do it and this, that, and the other. Like we have to consider the ramifications of everyone in the world. If we want to be a global leader, then we actually have to lead. And you do that with empathy, with kindness, with consideration, not necessarily with money, definitely not necessarily with your troops. You do it by setting an example. And currently the example that we are setting is just not that great. So I will say this, I am incredibly thankful that I do live in a state that is taking this incredibly seriously and and who goes toe to toes with officials in the federal level, because I absolutely believe if we did not have those people in this protection on the state level, that New York City would have reopened 2 weeks ago and we would be not 10,000 dead, but 30,000 dead or 40,000 dead because of recklessness. So it's my hope to come out of this a wiser person, come out of this as someone who actually takes a little bit better care of myself and other people, someone who can have a better work and home balance, someone that can really try to contribute in a positive way. And that's my charge to all of you. I'm going to end this video so at 7 o'clock every night, the whole of New York turns up their windows, they come and they clap and they yell and they honk and they bang pots for our healthcare professionals. And for me, it's not just them. It's our grocery store workers, just, the police who, again, the NYPD has been devastated. The MTA has had devastating losses. They've had tens of people die, Last time I looked, it was like 60 MTA workers. But that was like a week ago. Who knows what that is now? And it's for everyone who does not have the privilege of staying home. So I'm going to end this video with just a small tidbit of me yesterday when the sun was out on my roof at 7 o'clock listening to this chorus. It reminded me of the last night I was in Istanbul, and they have the call to prayer multiple times a day. And I was again on the rooftop of the hotel that we were staying at. I was up there and the call to prayer started. And you just sort of hear it like from like back there, then like over there. And then suddenly it's just this beautiful chorus, and it's probably great that I do not speak Arabic. I did not know the language. And so I could just appreciate it for the music that it was. And that's what I think this is. So thank you to them. Thank yourselves. You know, give yourselves a break. Maybe literally, like me. And try to use this in a positive way. I thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.